All right, episode 6. We have the great Bogna. How do you say your last name?
Kicińska.
Kicińska. Beautiful vocalist,
Hi.
musician. Say hello to all the people.
Hello everyone. Great to not see you.
Yeah, so thanks for coming over.
Yes, thank you for the invitation.
And we're just gonna talk about what it is to be a musician here in New York City.
Well, I can speak for myself. I'm sure this is not like general knowledge.
Right, but what I found out is like, well, I was in Japan. I got stuck there. I told you a little earlier for about 11 months, and a lot of my friends, fans, they want to know. I mean, they want to know, especially the young musicians, because everybody wants to come to New York. You came, I came. You know, so this is a very international, diverse city to do serious music. And they want to know, they want to know what it's like to come to New York. Why are musicians so great in New York City? That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been all around the world, but, and there's great musicians anywhere, right? There's in Tokyo or Paris or whatever, but New York has this condensed group of really, 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 really great musicians, always throughout the history of jazz.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is?
For starters, this is the capital of jazz. I mean, jazz music is from US, right? Yeah. And it's been on here for such a long time. The other thing is that that what draws many people from around the world. So they come here and they exchange the experiences, they exchange they play together the music that they brought with themselves from their own countries, and that inspires the others, and that creates this very special mixture. Plus, when you play with a better musician, you are becoming better. So when you play with those great musicians that were already here, that creates it spreads like a virus, the good type of virus.
The good type. But I think, one of the best ways, I think, for musicians to improve themselves is to surround themselves with more experienced and better musicians than they are, and it kind of kicks you to...
keep working. It's like you always feel like, I'm going to be working to my last days to... I don't know, match with those that I play with. At least that's my feeling.
Yeah, and in that sense,
will never end.
No, it never ends. I mean, here in New York, there's so many great musicians. It's very easy to play with musicians that are better than you because they're everywhere. Some are famous, some are not, some are not even working. So it's, what can I say? I mean, it's a great city. Would you recommend you're from Poland, right?
I'm from Poland, yes.
Would you, Warsaw, is that the capital?
Yes.
You're from there, that area?
I'm not, but I used to study there.
Yeah.
I lived there for 5-6 years.
Would you recommend a young musician in Poland to try to make it in New York if they want to do music as a career?
So, actually, there was a Polish pianist who just reached out to me about coming here to study. And so also the times and the music scene in Poland has changed throughout the years. And so funny thing is that I when he asked me about it, I said, is that really worth coming here and spending all that money? Because I do know that life as a musician, it's going to be much easier in Poland. Because there are more festivals and
more opportunities
to play. Yes, and it's hard for me to say right now for sure because I haven't lived there for 11 years. But I feel it's just easier to make a living as a musician, and the concerts you pay more
in Poland.
In Poland,
yeah, this is kind of very similar to Japan too.
But again, for getting knowledge and gaining knowledge, and I do think everyone who plays jazz should at least visit New York City, because I feel that's the reason why I came here in the first place. I felt like I cannot be honest if I want to say that I play jazz, and be honest about it. I cannot do it without actually coming to the source, because we have really great musicians in Poland. Compared to the surrounding countries, we have a huge
Well, Poland has a huge or like a very rich tradition of music. Chopin is very
yes,
famous.
but like that's classical music. Yes, that's been always high in Poland, but surprisingly jazz music too.
Yeah, there's I've never been to Poland, but I've heard stories about like of all the different EU countries. The Polish jazz musicians are like usually much better.
Yes, it comes from the times where you know American music, which is also jazz, was kind of forbidden. That was the sign of a freedom, and people would be meeting in their houses and they would be playing jazz. The jazz festival that came and opened up in Sopot.
Yeah, well, jazz is freedom, you know.
It is.
I mean, you really get to do your thing.
So more and more people were getting inspired. They would start inviting people from abroad, and they would start opening music universities, colleges with jazz music. So now I think in every big city we have a jazz department.
Jazz education is just all around the world. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, so for that reason we have a high level of musicianship in Poland. And there are many concerts where actually American musicians come over there. But also for me, as a person who sings and uses English, I feel like I kind of would like to learn English. Is that I really wanted to learn English in a better way that I would not feel ashamed using it in singing.
So you didn't speak any English while you were living in Poland?
Well, I mean, I would learn it at school. I would take some private lessons, but this is nothing compared to using it on a daily basis.
Right. Well, your English is great.
Thank you so much. I've been working on it.
But you've been living here for a while.
I still hear myself back. Like I can still hear my accent. It's hard to fix that, but I would definitely have very hard accent living just in Poland. And we want to get better with English and get better with the culture, with this whole way of living here. And then I felt that's going to represent me as a musician more. I'm going to be much more authentic in playing jazz if I'm going to, get here and learn so many aspects, because music, it's not only music, it's also where you live, it's also how you spend your free time, who do you meet with, and that represents who you are and what type of music you
the whole world of,
So for that reason, yes, come here. But if you want to make a nice living and like have, own an apartment, have your own car, and
it's one thing to visit and be a tourist, but another thing to set up shop and deal with the rent and the bills and commuting if you have to work, teach, whatever,
Yes. So while for most of the people that means that you're going to be renting an apartment, you're not going to own an apartment unless you find a way to do it. There are still some musicians who own apartments and who have or houses or cars, but mostly you would just rent an apartment. You are going to be hustling. You're not going to be having a car because, well, it's expensive, and where are you going to be parking then?
There is no parking.
40 minutes to find a parking around my place. That's really, you can get back and forth to Manhattan by train in a time.
It's New York is very tough. It's a tough. One of the tough. I mean, I noticed that every time I go to some other city and work, there's just not much places to. Things are closing. Well, with the COVID.
Yes. I mean that was a very well. If we met like 2 years ago, our conversation probably would have a little different. It would look differently, but also things has changed during pandemic, and it didn't make life easier.
So when did you come to New York?
Came in 2010.
So it's 11 years.
Yes.
Were you planning to stay this long?
No.
Were you planning to visit, or were you ready to move here and stay?
I came here for college actually. So
you did.
Okay.
Oh, you went to Queens College, right?
I went to Queens College.
So you know David Berkman?
Yes, I know.
Oh, okay.
That's how I know you. He recommended me to you.
That's right, maybe. And then you came and sang with
right.
us or something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, 11 years.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to add to the answer about why musicians in New York are so great I think that, which is weird, and I don't think it's right, but well, if you have to hustle that much, and you came here because you love music, and concerts gigs don't pay that much compared to like
right.
how much we have to pay for
rent
everything.
And, well, yeah,
well, I guess this is kind of strangely motivation. Okay, so I mean, the only pleasure I can have it's by making music and putting all my effort, all my heart into growing
right.
more as a musician.
Right.
Strangely, and I think that like obstacles sometimes, even it feels like okay, your life is harder, everything is harder, but it helps you somehow reach your goals.
I think so. I think you're very correct in that. But see, it's not for everybody. I don't think New York's
no.
Some people can get crushed by New York, and I've seen that. But they come, they try it out, and then they give up, or not give up, but they decide it's not for them. And there's no shame in that.
No, I understand it completely.
You know?
I mean,
they want to maybe a better life for themselves in that sense.
In many other countries, for being a good or very good jazz musicians, you can make really nice living and live very nice. Maybe not so easy, but much easier life than here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to have an easy life, but I think I'm not ready yet for that. I still feel like I still have lots of work to do, and I feel New York City is a great place to keep developing my skills. But I think that if you have easy life and everything is working perfectly, you don't have to hustle and struggle that much. There's like lack of motivation maybe to push yourself more with the music. As if you're surrounded by so many great musicians here, even probably none of us would have envisioned ourselves, hustling every single day to make a living. Well, that I guess like you're just putting all your heart and effort into making music and like being bigger artists, because you always see that carrot in front of your nose, So I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be practicing. I'm gonna meet with those people. I'm gonna play with those people and and I feel that makes you a better artist.
I think so. I mean,
so if you are here for being a better artist, come here. But if you want to be here and have a nice, nice easy living, then I don't think it's a place for those type of people.
Yeah, I mean, even I've I guess I don't know too much about the pop world in New York, but with the jazz, even if you're even big names that I've talked to, when they play in New York, the kind of money it's kind of really low.
Yes.
I mean, they go to Europe or Japan and get really nice concerts, but I mean, they're like guys on like ECM and really big names, and they're like not 20, they're like 60 years old, towards the end of their great career, and they play, I forget what they're like, jazz standard or whatever. They go back a handful. I mean, literally probably be losing money because they're coming from Woodstock to play here and then going back to Woodstock.
When I was studying in Poland, there was Diane Shure that came with concerts, and she came before the concert to the workshop at our school. And I remember her saying that she loves coming to Europe because she feels like an artist, like an appreciated artist, and the people treat her as a star, as of in the US, like her. And I was shocked, like how come that happens. I understand it now. Well, I think obviously she exaggerated about her being not treated well here, but I can tell that I can see the reality, how different world is here, how differently it looks in here, in terms of making a living as a jazz artist here.
I think almost everybody ends up teaching, right?
Yeah.
And a very good friend of mine, one of the most, in my opinion, one of the great drummers of our time, jazz drummer. Because of COVID, he decided that he's got a family too. He left New York and he took a teaching gig down in Florida because there's just no stability. I mean, he's one of those guys, jazz guys, that's very well known, and he was making a living just doing tours,
Yes.
Doing record dates and gigs, and that was enough. And with COVID, all that disappeared.
I think COVID has changed so much, and we are going to
A
be
lot of my
seeing-
friends have moved out of New York
Yeah.
because they couldn't stay here.
We are going to see probably the results of COVID in art and music for a long time.
Yeah. What were you? You were here during the COVID time, or did you go back to Poland?
I was here
You were
stuck for
here.
like 1.5 years in a small New York City apartment. That I was afraid of going out because of COVID.
Right, New York was really crazy for a while.
We actually live in Jackson Heights, which is, and we actually live 2 blocks away from Elmhurst Hospital. That was hit the hardest in the first
No, it was.
period of pandemic, and we also had COVID.
I still don't understand why here people don't believe in science. People don't want.
Here,
They want to fight over.
They believe much more than in other parts of the world. Seriously.
Really? I mean, people still fighting over wearing a mask, or people don't want to get vaccinated.
Look, I think it's everywhere. It's not only here. I went to Poland for the summer,
Yeah.
finally, and I also visited Turkey, and I think I think we are still lucky in New York City that so many people are vaccinated.
Yeah, New York is higher
That
than most
wear
places.
masks and believe in science, but I think this is like there are not so many places like that, and around the world. And I know that you think it's political. It is definitely why like that some people don't wear masks, but it's everywhere. People is the same, even worse, in terms of not wearing masks. Not taking precautions, and in Turkey as well. So
Turkey is like that?
Well, I mean, they in the trains they do make sure that you wear a mask.
Yeah.
But outside, I mean, no one takes care of it.
Yeah.
In Poland, even in trains, I asked the person who was checking the tickets. So what is the masks policy? She said, well, so everyone has to wear a mask. And she was saying that while having her mask under her nose.
Yeah.
I said, well, like no one except for me and maybe 2 other people have masks on.
Yeah.
And like all of the stories, so they really don't care about it. But strangely, they're compared to other countries, they are very low numbers, because I think people didn't care in Poland so much that everyone had COVID by that time.
Well, U.S. I mean, what I read is they've had now over 700,000 people died from COVID.
Yeah.
Number 1 in the world,
Yeah.
I mean, United States. And more, even now, right? I mean, supposedly things are opening up. Even now, just in the last 10 days, more people died in the United States than the whole COVID thing that happened in Japan. You know what I mean? Like Japan over the 2 years. For whatever reason, Japan had very low deaths compared to like the rest of the world.
I mean, I think you guys just eat healthy, and you just are much more healthier.
I mean, it is a healthier culture, yeah. I think they say like people who pass away from COVID usually have underlying
it triggers something
disease,
that
like
are
diabetes or maybe obesity or whatever. It's true. I mean, in Japan, you don't really see that many obese people. And
I think that's well, I'm not a doctor, but I think that's what I've heard. It's a huge
it's very
factor.
very low in deaths.
Right.
But it closed. Everything closed. All the gigs, but in Japan, it's only for 4 months, from last year February to June, and then June people started to play again, and then I had a tour in June last year, but that got postponed because of COVID. I didn't want to go for a month. It was like a 1-month tour, and we scheduled it for October, but little did I know that COVID was gonna stay for this long. I thought it would be gone in 2-3 months.
Okay, when that started and we decided, okay, we're staying at home.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I need 2 weeks of like not doing much and just staying at home. I really needed it. And that ended up being almost 2 years. Like, oh no.
It just went on and
really,
on and on.
you have to watch what you wish for.
It just went on and on and on,
Yes.
and but now I think things are like, you know, at 55 bars opening up, and man, it's been so long since we played together.
I know.
Where did we play last time? That club.
Was it Bonafide?
Yeah, it was. And
But no, we were
it
not
closed
playing
right
together.
Bonafide. No, we had, yeah, that's right. We had 2 bands, your band and my band. I think that was the last time I saw you. I think it's like the Skulls or something.
Skulls. Also, we played not together. Literally, we just played as 2 bands as well.
Where Skulls?
Skulls.
We did that too.
But
But yeah,
Shapeshifter Live also we played like 2 bands, but
a few times.
A few times. What was it? The place that doesn't exist anymore, and I think that it opened up.
Bonafide?
No, like just something starts with a V, I think.
Oh,
I never remember that name. I think it popped up for like a year or so and it closed again. Never mind. Like some.
Yeah.
I remember that you would go down.
the one in
basement,
Soho.
And the
West Houston.
piano was
Kind of out of tune.
Yes, and I think some keys did not work. I remember that. So
That's so common here. Even 55 bar, the roads is messed up. The
yes.
I mean, that's what I mean. I really enjoyed my tour in Japan because all the clubs are pristine,
Right.
charming, and the owners really care about
yes.
this. They're you know, you can see that they're very proud of their venue, and everything works. The piano's tuned. It's just a different world.
Yeah, to be honest, when I came here, it was strange for me to play in the places without a monitor,
Yeah.
or like it not working properly, or not being set well, or stuff like that. And here, I've gotten used to it. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it has to be changed because, you know, a listener, they don't know much about your reality on the stage, and they judge you by your performance. And you know, if you don't hear yourself,
It's
so much
you
better.
That's happened to me
But you know,
here so
there's
many times.
so many things that you can still work on, and I think I've gotten better with singing without the monitor. But
And it's not
it should
just
be like
it's
that.
just not just the vocals. I played where I couldn't, you know, like hear the piano because he was playing electric piano, and if you can't hear the piano, then you can't hear the piano on stage. You know, and it's happened. And these are like, you know,
but
well-known
this fact
venues.
that, but it's also, you know,
Terrible
like
sound.
usually some of the clubs are very small, very tiny. The stage is so small.
So yeah, some of the
that
small.
you have a choice. Either you would fit a musician, or you would fit a monitor, or I don't know, like I remember Cornelius Cafe. It was such a place that
Cornelius.
I remember that was my literally whole space on the stage, and if I even moved my elbow, I would kick the mic stand for the piano, and if I moved this elbow, I would hit the saxophone player.
Cornelius closed too. Cornelia.
But it was before pandemic.
Yeah, it was before.
Sadly. But I do hope that, you know, like some places would recover after a while. Because that has to happen, I feel.
Right. You know, I've kind of gone to some shows here since I've been back, and nobody going out, seems like.
Really?
Yeah, because there's no tourists. I mean, you guys still have entry ban.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, unless unless you have like a green card or some sort of visa, you can't come in.
Well, you have to have a green card. You cannot come here on visa.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I just walking down the street on a weekend, Saturday in Manhattan, it's completely empty.
Yeah.
The L train was completely empty at 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm like, what? You know, and just, you know, 55, wherever I kind of poke my head in, it's not nearly the kind of the capacity. So unless you're like a big time guy or girl getting some sort of guarantee,
right.
you're gonna lose money as a leader because it's not even harder to bring in a crowd.
Right. Well, I haven't gotten yet to the clubs after the whole pandemic much because I left Poland in the summer, and before that I was just not brave enough to go to places. And now as I came back a month ago, I visited the place that actually strangely opened during the pandemic.
What?
Hermana, did you hear
about it? Yeah, my friend Will, Will Slater, the bass player, he was playing there.
Yes.
And I haven't been there yet, but where is that? In East Village?
Yes, it's in East Village.
It's what is it? A Mexican restaurant?
It's a Mexican restaurant. Yes. So for some reason, many of my friends played there, and I just saw some, pictures or videos from their performances, and I expected that to be a bigger place. So I just stormed my way there on Saturday, and that was the end of the club. It's like just a regular bar with some place for the music to happen. But I did like the energy that for sure those people had to put into creating a space for musicians as well during the pandemic. It wasn't, I feel, a brave move, and I've seen many musicians performing there, and that's great. And it's just a bar, but people, even when they were talking, it's not like a super concert type of venue. They always stop for clapping for after the tunes. And the other place that I think has gained during the pandemic is the place that it's right almost next to my door. It's in Jackson Heights. It's Terrace 7.
Yeah. That's been there for a while.
Yes, and it's a very small place, and always struggled with people, like when sometimes the big band plays there, and so they take some of the seats for the others. It's really, really crowded and tight, and because of the new law that you can put tables outside, they have created a totally different world outside, taking some of the sidewalk space and the street. They created a stage with a roof and everything, a beautiful, beautiful space. And it's a pleasure to go there to listen to music and to play. And they have 2 shows every night. And there is audience. I mean, well,
like a local audience.
Local audience. Because there's also lots of folk music from Latin America, and that attracts the crowd. But anyways, it's a place that music is still happening. It has been happening through the whole pandemic. So I feel like those 2 places, and I've seen Smalls has been open for a long time. Shows were happening there too. Haven't been there yet, but those places give us hope. That we just need to have some people who don't lose hope. They don't lose fight. They fight for the existence of the places and make things happen somehow, despite the whole world being shut down.
It's amazing. Literally, almost going on 2 years, right? And
yes.
I think the artists kind of suffered. I mean, everybody suffered, but art, since art, like all my gigs got canceled. So and for a long time, I'm so grateful that Japan thing in October worked out.
This October?
Yeah, this past October, because for a minute everything was up in the air, But just that around that time, COVID went down in Japan, and all the owners said, "Man, we're gonna do it, regardless. We're gonna do it because they got to make a living too."
Yes.
So everybody was pretty desperate, and so we did it. And I think the timing was kind of good in that. I had a great band with Gene Jackson and New York piano player David Bryant, and the famous bass player in Japan. But everybody was so sick of just staying home. They all came out, so all the shows are pretty much like sold out, and only one venue in Nagasaki, 2 venues One, because the city had a cluster that happened right before.
Oh, okay.
So 2 places canceled, but then my manager rescheduled another one somewhere other town. So just out of the 30 days of touring, we lost 1 venue in Nagasaki.
That's
that
amazing.
was it. And we flew everywhere, and it was really great.
And that was last October.
Yeah.
So like
And
in
then
the middle
December,
of the pandemic.
Right, and then December, the infection skyrocketed again in Japan, and everything went on emergency. So January, February, I was stuck there. I couldn't return. January, February, I had gigs lined up since I was there anyway, but those got canceled because the numbers went really high up.
Right, so those are the times, and I've been trying to wrap my head around that, because yes, that whole pandemic time was kind of weird, but you gotta start doing things. You gotta plan things more. But now, what does it mean planning things right now in those times? It's hard to plan any tour outside where you have to take a plane and travel because things change so rapidly.
Yeah.